This is News at Prime. Thank you for staying with us. And if you've just joined us, a very good evening. I'm Hugo Ribatika with you until 9 p.m. We continue our coverage of how COVID-19 impacted every sector in the country. South Africa experienced several lockdown levels for the purposes of containing the spread of the virus, which has claimed more than 50,000 lives in the country and which has infected more than 1.5 million people to date. Schools, colleges and universities had to close and later reopen again under very difficult circumstances. Let's now get a perspective from an educator. Deputy School Principal from Greenside Primary School, Hajira Karim, joins us now live. Hajira, thank you so much for speaking to us. What challenges have you faced over the last 12 months, particularly with the little ones in primary school?
Good evening, thank you. It's been especially sad for us as educators to see little children who should be, hugging, laughing, playing together and being prevented from such activities in such a normal childhood. However, we've come a long way this whole year, and as teachers, our main focus, and as SMT, our main focus is balancing the safety of our learners and at the same time trying to give them an education and a school experience that's normal and something that's memorable for them. And majority of school teachers, the challenges they face is basically, having to get to school earlier to screen the learners, completing syllabus and reinforcing concepts in class it's quite challenging considering most of the learners are on a rotational basis. So things have changed drastically. Education is really not as easy as it was. One of the biggest challenges we faced was that when we reached went into the hard lockdown, we had to resort to online teaching. And that's when most teachers realized that they had to actually upskill themselves remote learning teaching. So yes, and most learners don't have access to such online facilities. But the education, the schools the teachers have gone out of their way to accommodate most of those learners as well.
So you're confident that teachers generally have been able to cope with this new normal?
Yes, I think they have. It has been difficult. It is challenging. Both learners, especially for teachers with comorbidities that are home and probably have to teach via Zoom or using other platforms of teaching. And, getting used to adapting to children who come to school with different issues. Children face a lot of psychosocial issues, especially after this long holiday that we've come back from. And, we've had quite a tumultuous time with this COVID-19 pandemic. And we find lots of children have lost loved ones and, they're facing the strain of financial difficulties. Some may have dropped out. And, when we get to school, we're not aware of this if we're not told. So we've got to be quite vigilant and try to pick up on this. But yes, they're coping. They found other methods of teaching children who are at home with comorbidities. And, I just hope and pray that, the positivity of all of this is kept. For example, teachers upskilling their remote learning. And, it's a huge hats off to all the teachers and children and parents as well.
You're absolutely right about that, Hajira. In fact, many a time I've seen, heard and spoken to parents who absolutely salute teachers because of the quality of work that you guys put through. It all seems so easy when you are shipping your child off to school every morning, but wait till you have to do it for 3 months, never mind 3 days in 1 week.
Yes, it's difficult. We've had parents call in and like, when do we get our children back? And this holiday is much too long. And it's especially difficult for parents who are at home working. Because remember, the children from most of the schools are on a rotational basis because we've got to accommodate the 1 meter distance, the social distancing on the fields. So we obviously can't have all the children back at, the way we used to. And parents are at home, some are working at home, some are working at the office. But nevertheless, it's difficult for them to monitor the children. And even with devices, if the children are home working and they need access, there's only perhaps one device per family. And who prioritizes? I mean, the bread and butter line is the family, the person working. So, yeah, it's difficult for parents. It's not. It has been challenging, I think, all around.
I suppose mental health issues rather, have not evaded the teaching profession. What are some of the challenges that you've had to deal with? How have you dealt with teachers, educators around mental health?
Yeah, we find that teachers they seem to have a lot of fear of coming initially, especially at the beginning stage of the virus. A lot of fear of coming to school, being infected, with this whole thing about who carries the virus and who has a higher viral load. And they are afraid of being infected and carrying the virus home to their loved ones. And, it's there's a lot of schools. I mean, you must have heard throughout the country where SGB teachers were either not fully paid or, you know, did not receive salaries or people were retrenched. So yes, it really did affect them. And we deal with it. The department offers services for teachers to go through that they can call in and get help from professionals if they so need. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about possible vaccination. I'm not entirely sure, but I think you would be in the second round of vaccinations. Is there general acceptance in your school amongst your colleagues and peers to be vaccinated?
Yes, I suppose there is. It's a very personal issue, and everyone has their own view. But I personally am quite confident that it's the only way forward we have, and it's the only solution we have. So, yes, I think it is something that they are looking forward to.
Hajira Karim, thank you so much for speaking to us and appreciate all the work that you and other educators are doing. Hajira Karim, Deputy School Principal from Greenside Primary School, thank you for joining us.